There are a lot of media outlets that say Auburn got it done in the transfer portal, and we have every reason to believe that. We saw what Auburn was able to accomplish, and some of the main position groups that were of concern for the Tigers were addressed. Go ahead and like this video. My name is Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football down in Deep South. College football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. My stage name is Vernon Speak Sports Auburn, and we're going to talk about these Auburn Tigers in a lot of different facets because, hey, man, we got a lot of catching up to do. It has been a while since we've sat around the water cooler and talked about these Tigers, and you know, I sense just in looking around Facebook, and you know, I don't get to Auburn that much, so I can't really see the climate of you know, the folks just hanging around town as far as how Auburn football is, what the outlook is. Don't get a chance a lot to look at podcasts like I used to. Absolutely, you want to check out the War Report with Mike G and some of those other guys, and also Zach Blackaby, I think, has an incredible podcast, just as does the War Report, talking about Auburn football. There are quite a few others that do it. I can't think of some of the names, but some very good content creators, very good diligence as it relates to talking about Auburn football. Now, Auburn has a schedule that, you know, I think is very interesting in how the schedule is laid out. And I do like the idea of playing Alabama A&M in-state football team. They compete in the FCS. They are also in the SWAC conference. Alabama A&M has been pretty competitive over the years in the SWAC conference. They actually started out in the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, which features local Tuskegee University, which is nearby. But either way, that's a game that Auburn should obviously win, and should win pretty big. I don't think there's going to be much kickback from Alabama A&M in that particular game. I mean, not even in the beginning. I don't even think they're going to get too many stops on Auburn if the offense is geared up to be what I think they are. Then you got the kind of sort of big one, the game against Cal. Cal is actually coming out to Auburn this year after a pretty interesting game last year. It was pretty sloppy on both sides from Auburn and California. But as it turns out, Auburn did win that particular football game, and I think this is going to be a winnable game for Auburn. We're only going to talk about the first half of the season today, and we will touch on the other half at a later time. Then you got New Mexico, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Okay, so I think in looking at those games and the prospect of those games, I think those are what we want to call winnable. And that sets up a nice situation as Auburn takes on Georgia for their first game on the road. It's a team that just hadn't beaten in a while. I mean, I think if Auburn's got to figure out a way to make this a competitive rivalry again, because Auburn has not beaten Georgia in a long time. So, you know, you set up, you know, beating Alabama A&M, California, New Mexico, Arkansas. I think at worst, I really think at worst, given the prospects of that game, I think at worst, Auburn should be 4-1 going into that football game. And, 4-1 with the only probable loss to Oklahoma. And even some media outlets are saying that could be shaping up to be a winnable game for the Tigers. So we would just really have to see how this thing works as far as the schedule goes, and how Auburn can put themselves in position to possibly make some noise early to mid-season to give them some momentum down the stretch. Now, like I said before, this recruiting class from 2024, I think, was a very successful recruiting class. A few caveats is the fact that they did not have a running back in this particular recruiting class, kind of filled with wide receivers. Of course, that's something that Auburn definitely were seeking to upgrade after last year. Just limited production from the quarterback slash wide receiver position, but got a pretty loaded running back room, I think. A lot of diverse talent there. There's some arguments. I see them on social media outlets, especially Facebook, on some of the Auburn group chats, where there's a debate on who possibly is the best running back on Auburn's football team right now. It's kind of hard for me to lean at the moment. I won't say the best, but who my favorite running back to watch is Damari Alston. Well, running backs to watch is Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb. I really like Jeremiah Cobb's game-breaking potential. And I think, if he has the emergence between year one and year two, I think he can push some needles as the go-to guy at running back. Now, this is not to discount. I think Jarquez Hunter is a incredible athlete. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny with Jarquez Hunter. He just recently graduated, and you look at the graduation pictures. Even if it doesn't work out for Jarquez Hunter, I could see him being like a president of a bank, selling insurance, possibly pharmaceutical sales. The kid dresses very well, very professional looking. I think he has a bright future ahead of him, not only athletically, but from a professional standpoint as well. He just got that corporate look. But anyway, I think Jarquez Hunter is a great football player. I think he has the potential to at least be all SEC. There are some skill sets that he possesses that I think are lacking at times. But as far as being solid, absolutely solid running back. But back to the point of this recruiting class, I think a huge one was Amaris Williams, out of 5-star out of Clinton, North Carolina. See, he has a very diverse skill set, I think, just as Jeremiah Cobb does. He's got long arms, which I think is great for an edge rusher to kind of stretch, be able to stretch those arms out when he might not be able to have the speed to get to it, but having long arms really does help. He's very good at maneuvering through the line of scrimmage, especially for his size. I think if he can get a little bit more size, he actually has the height. If he can get a little bit more size, maybe inch up to, probably if he does, once he enters pro, will probably enter that 280, 290 range. He can probably do that before he leaves Auburn, because right now he's a solid 260. Probably will be 270 when he gets on campus. I'm looking at maybe a 3 technique at best, like if he wants to work his way into the inside of the line of scrimmage, or probably the most probable the most probable to make him diverse. I'm thinking maybe a 5 technique where you line up right outside the tackle as a down lineman. So we look forward to seeing what he's able to do as well. And obviously, out of the group, Cam Coleman, who just had a monstrous spring and had a very exciting showing in the spring game, showed some breakaway speed, capability, just making it really, really happen, and looking just as good on paper. I mean, just as good in reality as he did on paper. Like, I just thought he had an incredible game. It was very fun to watch. Having that ability to make some of those game-breaking plays that Auburn just hadn't been able to make, for quite some time. And also, you look at some of the other receivers that are going to be coming this fall. Of course, Bryce Kane, who was there as well. And then you look to the transfer portal, where Auburn has also got wide receivers as well to help supplement not only it's not so much to supplement the talent, that Auburn has from their high school recruits, but more so to supplement the experience. Because you can't discount, I mean, I don't care how good you are, but you can't discount that experience, especially when a lot of these guys that have come to Auburn from other institutions, they got Power 5 experience. Especially, I think the home run out of all this is Keandre Lambert Smith from Penn State, and he's immediately eligible. Obviously, did some great things at Penn State, and we look at the fact that the quarterback position for Auburn with Peyton Thorne, Auburn didn't go out to the transfer portal this year to get a quarterback, and Hugh Freeze did say, "Hey, I'm not trying to spend a lot of money to get a quarterback. I'm gonna get what we got in house, and we're gonna develop him." I've watched video countless on Peyton Thorne. I watched him when he had good receivers. I watched him when he didn't. I think Hugh Freeze is looking at this to say, "Hey, we got to put the right kind of people around him at that wide receiver position," and looks like he has. Also went out and got at the wide receiver position. Also went out and had a nice pickup from Cal, Sam Jackson, who also played quarterback. I saw something on Facebook today where folks are talking about maybe Sam Jackson could possibly get into the wide receiver locations and rotation, and be in some of the packages at quarterback. Maybe even get a situation where there's some end around action and he throws the football. But either way, made some waves during the spring at that wide receiver position, and also Robert Lewis from Georgia State, who had a pretty decent spring as well. So we look at these things. We look at some of the positions that Auburn was able to capitalize on. Big one also is at the defensive line. Definitely needed some depth there. We look at last year where you had a couple of defensive linemen who got hurt. Also, size wasn't necessarily a factor, but the depth more so than the size, which kind of costed Auburn down the stretch and so in the trenches in some of those crucial football games where they couldn't get the kind of pressure that you want to get on your quarterback. But I think all in all, this recruiting class / transfer portal class was really solid. And as we start talking about predicting Auburn's season, the one factor that's going to make that a little bit difficult is because we really don't know for sure what the depth chart is going to look like. And say, for example, I do feel like Peyton Thorne has solidified the quarterback position. I think Jarquez Hunter is going to be the favorite to start at running back, but with a lot of help around him. The wide receiver, that's going to be up for question because not only do you have wide receivers that have transferred in, you also have wide receivers who didn't participate in the spring, but will be enrolling in the fall. So that's going to give a lot of sample size for the coaching staff to figure out what the wide receiver position is going to look like for the Tigers. Also, the cornerback position, which could be an interesting spot for the Tigers as well, because right now, as you have it, you have, say, for example, some folks project Keontae Scott to be the starting boundary cornerback. And at this position that Donovan Kaufman played last year, you're looking at Champ Anthony. But you just don't know, because you got at the field cornerback, you got Kayan Lee probably. Now, I was kind of impressed with Kayan Lee last year, especially. They threw him in that Cal game, first time on the road, freshman, and he performed pretty well, and he was pretty solid throughout the season. So he's looking to take, that DJ James spot, So I just don't know, because you have the transfer out of Alabama, Antonio Kite, that could compete for that boundary cornerback position. And it's just going to be real interesting to see how these position groups pan out. That way you can. I'm still going to do a prediction, season prediction video anyway, because I still think with the talent they have, it's enough sample size to get a pretty good idea of how this thing is going to shape up. But when you look at the transfers, man, especially at the cornerback position, Antonio Kite, you have the cornerback out of Texas that will be coming to Auburn. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how that goes. I want you to go ahead and like this video, comment. Please get in the comment section. That's how we really get a lot of things active on this channel. Jaron Thompson, who I was referring to, he's coming over from Texas. Was a 92, was a 4-star recruit out of high school. He's basically a 4-star as a transfer. Along with him is Trill Carter from Texas. Yeah, so Isaiah Rakes adds to the size of the defensive line and a lot of depth, and he may be the starter, one of the starters, and if nothing else. People put a lot of stock in the starter position. It's a possibility. I mean, hell, he may come off the bench. I mean, you just never know. But he definitely does add the depth that Auburn needs at the defensive tackle position. Now, as we end this video, I just want you all to really look at the prospect of Perry Thompson, who, I mean, this guy at wide receiver, he does a lot of things at the point of attack to where he's the screen guy. He can catch the ball in the flat and create screens and create some disruption for the defensive, the opposing defensive team, to where I think Perry Thompson might be the guy that we're sleeping on at this point, that may be coming to add a lot of production for Auburn. Just let me know, guys. Here's what I need you guys to do. Like the video. The main thing I need you to do is flood the comment section. This is what I want to know from you all. Like, what do you think of Peyton Thorne as the quarterback? Do you think it was a situation where the guy just doesn't have the skill, or he just didn't have the tools he needed to work with in year one at Auburn, and now transitioning to his senior year at Auburn? Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger.